All right, so with that, we'll do some introductions. We have your board of directors here. Steve, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm your homeowner board member.
I guess I'll go next. I'm Jennifer Mahaffey with Taylor Morrison. I see a lot of new faces on today's call, and that's exciting. We have excellent turnout. So looking forward to getting going today.
Hi, I'm Karen Erickson, also with Taylor Morrison.
Great, and then we of course have Takara, who is hosting the meeting in the pavilion, your lifestyle manager. So we appreciate you being here. All right, so I'll go ahead and share my screen and turn it over to Jennifer to start the meeting here.
Great, thanks. So yeah, today is Wednesday, April 19th, Oak Tree Homeowners Association board meeting. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting formally to order at 4:06. All right, and the first item of business we'll do is approve February meeting minutes, which was sent over to the board. So I believe everyone has had a chance to review them. So I need someone to, there you
I
go.
approve.
Seconded.
Thank you, perfect. We actually do have a special guest today. And Christina, I don't know if you're sharing your screen will work, but
I'll stop
have
right
someone-
there just so we can.
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, for this. I hopefully he unmutes himself and turns on his camera. There he is. We have our Seattle Division President, Pete Lamberis. He heard we were having a meeting today. So he thought he would hop on and give the Taylor Morrison update for this meeting. So Pete, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone. Appreciate you letting me come on here just for a few minutes. I did have a break today, and I thought I'd take advantage of it to both say hello and thank Jennifer and team for such a great job that they're doing out there. Jennifer asked me to give you an update on how things are going out there at Oak Tree. And I just kind of thought I'd do that. I wasn't actually planning on making the meeting, but I will kind of talk off the top of my head. So bear with me. Let's start with sales. Sales have been great out there. They've been going exactly as planned. We've been having some really great success, and I know the sales team down there, Kathy and Jeff, have been just very busy with people who are interested in the community. So we're on track for the year, and really happy with how that's going. The other thing I kind of wanted to mention to you guys is permits. I don't know if you remember the last time I actually had a message for you. We were a little behind on permits. What we were able to do was get together with the county. We did put together a great program. We are now not only caught up on permits, we're ahead on permits, and we're caught up on foundations as well for all of the new homes that have been sold. So we've been able to actually advance our permits and our foundations ahead of what we thought we were going to be able to do by the time we got to April this year. So we feel really good about that. And of course, as we saw that coming on in January and February, I asked my land development team to go back out and finish Division 4. And if you're not familiar with what Division 4 is, it's right up on top of the hill behind where we're building homes right now. We probably won't get there for a little bit, but we did want to make sure that we had plenty of lots out there ahead of us so that we could, just make sure that we were able to keep rolling as our sales kind of continued to both meet expectations and in some cases even beat expectations. So that's been a great surprise for us. Wanted to talk a little bit about the amenity. I'm sure you guys are all interested about that and how that's coming along. It's coming along well. We have had a little bit of slippage in the schedule, as with anything with people and product, and especially in today's supply constrained environment. We're seeing a little bit of a slip. At the moment, I'm seeing about a September-October timeframe that we're going to open one of those. The first one I think will be earlier than the second one, but the intention is just to continue to build through. We're going to open the banquet building first, And then as soon as we finish the pool, we call it the pool building, the fitness building, we'll open that right on the heels of the banquet building. So we're just gonna roll straight through, get those done. I also just got off a call this morning with our marketing team and authorized them to get some visual plans and boards and things like that we can actually share with you, so you can see more of what this amenity is going to look like, both the pool and the banquet building. I'm estimating about 30 to 45 days before we'll have something for you to go see, and that'll most likely be at the sales office. So you can go catch up with Jeff and Kathy, and we'll get Jennifer any information that we have as well, so she can share that out with the group. And then the last thing I want to say is that we love, I've been out there a number of times, and we just love seeing our members out walking around the community. I actually enjoy seeing our members walking through our new division where we're building homes. I just have a special request from you for your own safety. Please stay either on the street if no one's driving on the street. I don't typically advise you walk in the street. I prefer sidewalks. But because of the construction, because of the safety concerns, please be very careful. And if we're building and actively constructing out there, try to avoid those areas. I know we've had some people go through, and it's curious, it's interesting. Even I like to do it, but I ask, please take care of yourselves and just be safe when you're out there taking a look at what's coming along. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Hey, for the ownership, if you could you give us some explanation or examples of what the slippage in the time frame was, whether it was supply chain issues or workforce shortages or permitting? And if you have any information on it, could you tell us what your impression of what it's going to look like on the inside and what's going to be filled inside the shell? And give us a little more information if you have it.
I don't have any information on the interior finishes. I haven't been involved in that process. My team has been involved, and they've been working with a group of professionals that does this for a living, and I kind of trust them. From a slippage standpoint, it's a little bit of everything. You know, there's a lot of pieces that go into a building like that. And even if you just slip 2 or 3 days on 4 or 5 items, and you have somebody that doesn't show up, whether it's plumbing or siding or the weather has slowed us down or anything like that, all of those tend to compound over time. And I think we've been at it for, almost 7-8 months now. So you start to put those together and it slowly starts to slip out. I've asked my team to keep me updated. And right now our best estimate is September, October.
Thank you for that.
You bet. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you for letting me join the meeting. Have a great night.
Thanks, Pete.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, and just to piggyback on what Pete said, definitely when we get those materials, I was part of that conversation a little bit earlier today. We'll make sure we get that sent out via the HOA side as well as sales. So, and I know I have a slight idea of some of the content, so I think you'll get a little bit more of a glimpse of quote unquote finishes or what type of programming is going to be established and set up for, smaller aspects of the building. I think we all understand what a banquet room type building is and a fitness room, but a little bit more specifics to dial that in. So yeah, we'll kind of just pivot now real quickly and we'll just go to the treasurer's report for that agenda. So Christina, you want to screen share again?
Yes, I will bring up that portion of the management report here and go over the numbers. And let me share my screen again here. All right, hopefully you can see that now. So we have the March financial statements at this time, and they were sent to the board on April 12th, 2023. As of March 31st, your current account balances are your total operating account assets, $826,266.55. Your checking account, $157,687. Savings account, $626,056.93. And then there's various other accounts that make up the difference. due between prepaids, receivables, and petty cash for a total of $42,608.75. And your reserve accounts are fully funded at $283.96.52. Delinquencies as of April 15th was 1 at 247, which has since been cleared. So you are clear on the delinquency side. One bit of information we've added, so everyone is aware, the year-to-date capital contributions is 72,000. So that's 15 homes. And then the owners that we have on file, it registered in the system is 285. Any additional questions on that? Otherwise, I'll bring the agenda back up.
Okay, I think we actually go into our committee reports next. So we'll have a ACC committee start. I saw Richard on the call, so go ahead and unmute. There he is.
Here.
Oh, he takes us that. There he goes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so as we expected in spring now, the number of ACCs we're getting has increased a bit, but really not too bad. We're keeping up pretty well. We can tell pretty clearly that homeowners have taken a good look at our standardizations and the FAQs, and it's really been helpful. Most of the time we can approve the ACCs pretty quickly. So that's made it a lot easier for us, and I think easier for the board as well. Most recently, things have been pretty smooth. A lot of the requests we're getting are a little bit repetitive because we get quite a few that are fence staining, we get quite a few that are backyard projects, and a lot of those have a lot in common. Even though the details are different, it's the same basic things we're looking for in the standardizations. And we did update the standardization document on the portal on March the 6th, and we had updates for house painting to kind of make that, we hope, a little bit easier to understand, and also for generators, mainly with regard to the portable backup generators. And we continue working on new standardizations, and we'll have some updates pretty soon on that. We have had a couple residents come forward and indicate that they would like to be on the ACC, so we're very happy about that. I've sent separate emails to each of them explaining our committee, kind of what we do, and the next steps for them in attending their first meeting, which would be in July. For the newsletter coming up, I did submit a brief note to Miriam about the ACC and continue to ask, hopefully, that more residents will come forward to be on the committee. So that's basically about it. I mean, I think the committee's working pretty smooth, and we're keeping up pretty well.
Great,
That's about it.
thank you. Yeah. So we'll go right into landscape committee. I saw Dawn as well, so Dawn Wilson.
Hey, good afternoon, Landscape Committee Chair. First thing I do is invite everyone to the 5th annual Ovation Earth Day cleanup on Saturday, this coming Saturday, 22nd of April. I'd like to have anybody interested to meet at the pavilion about 10:30. We'll break up into smaller groups and assign you different areas to go to the area and place up the trash that's there. Been through the area, it doesn't look too awfully bad. Would like to recommend that you bring gloves with you, and following that, and we'll have I guess Takara's got the pizza party arranged for the participants to follow at the pavilion at the end of the cleanup. Next item of discussion is the plant replacement that's been if you've got a plant order that's been placed and installed, it will be installed between now and the end of April. And if there's any issues or any concerns that you are, need to be made aware of or have the board made aware of, fill out the resident request and we'll get back with you and help you sort out whatever the problem was. The last thing is the committee membership. Right now, we're okay with membership. We've got actually one vacancy, but we've got 7 out of 8 members filled. We are expecting or anticipating some membership needs in this fall. So if you're interested, just let us know. We have our monthly meetings on the 2nd Wednesday of each month at the pavilion at 6 o'clock. So if you're interested in coming and joining the meeting to see what it's all about, you're more than welcome to do that. And subject to any questions, it completes the briefing for the landscape committee.
All right. Looks like we'll go next to the communication committee, and I see Mel and Miriam. So
I'll talk today.
okay.
We don't have much to report, but for those who may not be familiar with what we do, we try as hard as we can to facilitate helpful and friendly information and exchange of ideas throughout the community. There'll be another newsletter coming out at the end of the month. We do that every 2 months. Miriam Hewitt has been great at helping to organize the portal and make it more or easier to navigate. And she has whipped the handbook into shape. If you haven't downloaded that handbook, I really suggest you do. You can get all kinds of answers to questions without having to even type on your keyboard. So that's on the portal in the More Documents and Handbook folder. We also monitor our very fun residents Facebook page. And we send out occasional emails to people who have signed up for the communication committee or community emails. And these are emails that are not exactly official HOA business, but they can be useful and let people know about some cool things that are happening in the community. So to get on that list, just send me or Miriam your information. We are listed in the members list on the portal, and our emails are in every newsletter, so very accessible. We have other members on the committee too who don't get quite the billing, but Trish Kivett and Connie Soa and Cheryl Nugent all help us out. And we always welcome ideas from the community, especially for newsletter items, and we get participation, and we just love that. I think that's about it. That's what we do, and happy to serve this community.
Great, thank you. And then we have a pavilion committee. So let's see, not sure. Dan, are you going to speak?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yep.
The Pavilion Committee is currently working with the board members, updating the reservation process and the pavilion rules and regulations. I've asked that the 2 parking places facing the shed be signed as disabled parking. I don't know where that's at right now. The committee welcomed a new member, that's Kathy Nichols. When at the pavilion, we want you to remember that is an extension of your home. It's deeply cleaned 3 days a week. And that does not mean that you can leave a mess for them to clean up. You're supposed to clean up after yourself. If you see a mess, clean it up if it's possible for you to do. We keep reminding you of this. So far, everybody seems to be doing a great job. The pavilion has been looking great. And the committee hasn't heard any complaints from the members. And that's my report.
Yeah, I'm great. I'm going to piggyback on, since we just met yesterday. I'm going to piggyback on the update. We're actually working we're gonna work with the Pavilion Committee as well to update and create rules for all the amenities. So we're gonna also simplify that process, so you'll have one handbook. So that's gonna be a really cool collaborative effort with probably all the committee chairs as well, too. So that'll be something for all of us to look forward to, make everything a little bit easier in the future when we have the second amenity. And I believe that the action item for the signage is that we are gonna order signage for those 2 stalls and get that installed. So when we know more, we can update you, Dan, and your committee on that process. But I believe that was the action item from our meeting yesterday.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we have a management task to get some options for the board to review.
Okay,
Great,
thank you.
cool. Yeah. So Christina, do you want to start into the management report?
Yes. Going to pull up the report here. See it a little bit larger. While this comes up, one thing I want to comment on, of course, I'm here at the meeting today, Christina Peterson, if you weren't here at the beginning of the meeting. I'm the vice president of our Washington office. And I have stepped in to be the board liaison for your community. And I have always worked hand in hand with Dawn Wood, who I'm sure you're all more familiar with, in working for your community here. Dawn is still working in the same capacity for your community. Even if she's not here today, hopefully you have seen that and felt that. That is not stopping. We're going to give a little bit more information when we talk about the general manager position as to why that's happening a little bit later in the meeting. But I just want to comment on that and reassure all of you that she's still here working with you all, and it is her mission to make this transition, as seamless as possible for all of you, and help all of you through it, and make sure that there's no loss of information for the community, which of course is my goal as well. Just gonna close this here, if it'll load for me. Oh, perfect. So, and before I get into the details, the nuts and bolts of our report here, I wanted to comment on some information that we sent out regarding Compliance View 360. So that is a tool that we are utilizing for our site visits. So currently your management team was doing a drive-through of your community on a weekly basis. And so that was Dawn. She was driving through the community and taking photos. The goal of those drives are to review your common areas, make sure everything is looking as it should, and to be able to provide direction to your contractors, mostly landscaping, in case something's not looking as it should. Another piece is governing document enforcement, which is an important part of HOA living. However, your community is really, really great in that regard. There are very few compliance issues, so that we spend very little time in the enforcement world, which is wonderful, and we hope it stays that way. But an important part of having it stay that way is ensuring that your management company is on top of that and taking care of it, and checking for it. Usually a very kind reminder, if something's happening, solves the issue. So I think one of the concerns with Compliance View 360, which is a vehicle that we'll be driving through and now getting that video footage twice per month, was that it might increase enforcement or are they incentivized to do more enforcement? They do not do the enforcement piece. All they provide is the video footage. Your Nova management team is still reviewing the footage and taking a snapshot of a photo if there is an issue. Again, very few within your community. And so there is no incentivization in that way. We do that internally. And so Nova actually pays for that service. And we use it as a resource to help us delegate more time in other areas for your community. So like I mentioned, Dawn is still doing drives twice a month, and then we are utilizing Compliance View 360 twice per month. It may change. We may stop using the service. Again, we are collaborating with the board on what works best for the community. And we will notify you and post on your portal when the vehicle will be driving through, so you are aware. If you are curious to see what it looks like, Dawn is at the community every Thursday. She would be happy to show you what that video footage looks like. I think that may help familiarize everyone with what it looks like. It really looks like somebody's driving down the community. We only turn the camera and narrow in if there's something that catches our eye in terms of common area issues, landscape issues, or a compliance issue. Otherwise, it really looks like you're driving down the street and it doesn't capture, I think, some of the detail that you may think. The other item that I brought up, and some of this is coming from owner questions, so we really appreciate that owners sent in questions so we can make sure to answer them, is the storage of this video. They only store the video for 90 days and then it is deleted. And so the only thing that is saved on file for longer than 90 days is any of the photos that we as your management team have taken from the footage. So that video footage is not stored long-term, just, for any security concerns. I think those were the main questions that haven't been responded to. Of course, if you have any other questions about that process or that vehicle, please do not hesitate to reach out, or again, go see Dawn on Thursday, or submit a resident request. We're happy to provide more information. All right, so with that, I will get into our annual calendar and routine item updates for the community. So the Pavilion Cleaning Service performs cleaning inside 3 days a week, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Your pavilion windows are cleaned quarterly with the next date scheduled for May 2nd. Bugbusters' next pavilion quarterly service is April 28th, and they will also install the bee traps around the pavilion and at the trail entries. The pavilion blinds have been serviced by Budget Blinds and are working well. The pavilion electrician has ordered a new ballast for the gym light. They've been working on this since the end of January. So if any of you notice, this is a longer term issue. The supply company no longer makes the model. And so they have had to find a new one. And there's been some delays getting that in place. So we are tracking that on a work order and we'll hopefully have that taken care of for you soon. We are working with the board to select a gutter cleaning and pressure washing provider for the exterior areas of the pavilion. The goal will be to complete that by the end of May. The exact date and pavilion closure will be communicated once it's determined. The Nova team is working with the auditor, CPA, for a complete 2022 audit and tax preparation, which has been extended. This will be posted on the portal upon completion, so you'll all have access to that audit. HOA landscaper updates. Monarch is working on completion of bark for Division 1. They ran out of bark, that color bark, and will continue. They project completion on April 28th. They're also starting the first plant replacement order the week of April 24th to be done by April 30th. So any of you that have work orders in for plant replacements, that will be completed by April 30th. Any new ones that come in will be on the next round, which I believe is planned for June. Monarch posts weekly updates on the portal under announcements. Please go there with any of your landscape questions. Hopefully they will be answered. Monarch provides those updates weekly. The updated annual calendar is posted under documents, and that is a living document. We'll continually update it, particularly as your new amenities come online. As I mentioned, Compliance 360 will be doing site visits 2 times a month starting this month. The next new homeowner orientation is April 27th at 11 a.m. And those recordings are available for viewing on the Oak Tree YouTube page. On that YouTube page, there are also tutorials and pavilion operation videos that you can review if you would like. This can be found on the portal under links. So please take a look at that when you have the chance. Just some general updates. There are 416 registered emails for members in the community. And of course, we have all of the detailed reports included for the board in the packet. So they're reviewing real time any of the information that you've provided and what we as the management company are working on and the answers we provide. So with that, I will turn it over to Takara, your lifestyle manager, for an update in lifestyle.
Thank you, Christina. So as you guys all may know by now, my email address has gone back to the takara.sale@novaamp.com. So if you are still using the tsale at Evergreen, please disregard that and just use the Nova email moving forward. I do not have access to the Evergreen email. So if you sent something to that and I have not responded, I apologize. This Friday, we have our community potluck. It will be at 5 p.m. All are welcome to join. Please feel free to pop in, even if you don't plan on staying the entire time. As Dawn mentioned, Saturday, we will have our Earth Day cleanup, followed by a pizza party here in the pavilion. Again, please feel free to pop in, even if you do not participate in the Earth Day, but we strongly encourage you to do so. And then next Friday, the 28th, we will have something that we have not done yet before. We will have live acoustic music in the pavilion from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. This is a trial run, so I encourage all of you to come down, check it out, and provide any feedback on whether or not you liked it, any concerns you might have about it, so we can try new things and just wait our time until we get the villages for more space. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So, let me get my papers here. So it looks like we're headed now into our new business. So yes, today's hot topic is the general manager. I will start off by saying this was not a rash decision that the board decided to make. This was something that we thoroughly thought through and felt that this was the best thing for the success of the community, is to get going now. This is a good time, especially as we're getting ready to have our amenities delivered to the association. And, you know, to be transparent, we were just having some growth issues that we were just sort of looking ahead and felt like it was time to add a new team member to help strengthen our position with for the community. So I know that it kind of maybe came out of the blue for a lot of the ownership, and totally understand, but it was definitely something that was well thought out and discussed thoroughly, not only with amongst the board, but with Nova as well, to find, you know, what would be the most successful route for us. And so we came up with this, you know, plan with the transition and, you know, got everyone on board. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Christina, do you want to start moving into other aspects of that?
Yes, I will add on. So just like Jennifer said, this is something we've been collaborating with the board on. And the reason I am getting more actively involved now, again, I have always been behind the scenes, but more actively involved so that I can help through this transition. And like I said, Dawn is working actively with the community as well, which will be vital to the success of this transition. There were some homeowners who submitted some questions, and it actually really summarizes, I think, the range of questions that may come from owners. So I'm gonna go through those questions, maybe not word for word, but pretty close, and provide the information. And I think it might cover a lot of the questions that may have come to mind for everybody. And if not, of course, we've got the homeowner forum, and you can always submit after if you think of anything. So one of the questions, or a few of the questions, was related to timing. Can we slow down? Why now, especially with a slight delay of the amenity? Do we need to do it now? Are we rushing? So like Jennifer said, this is something we've discussed and been monitoring, have known was going to be a step that needs to be taken. And it's really based on the number of homes, the amount of communication. We at Nova do a lot. We monitor all the time that the team members are working and what, you know, all of the day-to-day. It is an important time in the community in terms of the time needed and also the time at the community. So one of the important things is this general manager will be on site full time, which is really important for the support of the community, and always was the plan for your community to have a full-time on-site management team member. You know, again, Dawn has done a wonderful job to start off the community, but you just can't do everything remotely or only on site a couple of days. And so that's a really important piece. And then again, with the amenity, it may not be ready yet. There is a lot of planning that is going on to be prepared. And it's really important that the management team is ready and has all of the systems and processes in place to help the HOA and the board, utilize the facilities to the fullest and have a really good maintenance and administrative plan going forward. So it was determined that this was the right time. It's not an exact science or an exact equation by any means, but it is important. And this is the structure and the management structure that is typically in place for a community of your size and amenity level. I think that covers the first couple. One question was, what percentage of Dawn's time is devoted to Oak Tree? And how many hours will this new person be devoted? This person will 100% of their time will be devoted to Oak Tree, and they will be 100% on site full time. So again, I think you'll really feel the impacts of that, and it will provide the support the community needs and our team members need, like Takara, as a lifestyle piece as well. So that is really important. Dawn was spending the majority of her time, I would say around 90 to 95%, but a key was a large portion of that was remote, which again, worked well for a while. It won't work well for your community at this size. And so again, we want to get ahead of that and not allow growing pains to happen. Who will the GM manage? So at this point, they won't have any direct reports. However, if there are future hires for the association, there are things in the budget for maintenance potentially with the programming, activities, things like that. There is no one that will report to them at this time. They will work collaboratively with Takara and the rest of our management team, of course. And they will report directly to the board of directors, as management does, and in this case, even more so since they are 100% devoted to the community. But one comment was on the salaries. So if any of you have done the research and gone and checked Nova's posting, this salary is posted higher than a typical manager's salary at $115,000 to $130,000. This group of owners did research, and they say the typical salary for an HOA manager is somewhere between, in Washington, is somewhere between $57,000 and $73,000 in 2023. I would believe that. We have information from CAI as well. That is pretty close on the portfolio management side. And again, that's an average statewide, not necessarily Nova's average, but it is lower on the portfolio management side, not for on-site management or a general manager position. Nova recommended that the board consult with an industry expert in this area in staffing for communities just like yours. This person actually placed the GM at Jubilee 10 years ago and works with associations just like yours all over the country. And the salary, we came to it collaborating with that consultant and asking questions and being based on things like the size of your community, the budget of your community, and the amenity level of your community. So these are specialized industry professionals that can handle the size of your community. So that's really important, a really important investment in your community.
So Christina, if I could just add some color to some of that.
Yeah.
Folks, we did meet with a headhunter, or what would be an industry expert before hiring. And we told them what we were interested in paying by looking at what we had budgeted for an HOA manager. And just to be brutally honest with you, I felt like we were laughed out of the room by the industry expert. We were offering so low a paying price. And it's important for everybody to know that this isn't a knee-jerk reaction. We have been working toward this goal for months and months and months, as much as a year now, to have a full-time GM. So we went back to the drawing board in the budget, and we looked at what we had, and we looked at the fact that we had budgeted for an assistant manager, and we had budgeted for somebody who would not be here as a full-time manager for the HOA manager. So we took those two funds and we combined them so that we could get somebody here 5 days a week, 8 hours a day on site. So by taking the $40,000 that was budgeted for the assistant manager and putting it toward the paltry amount we had in mind that we got laughed out of the room by the expert, we got to the $115,000. So it's not going to take, it's not going to make a hit to this budget at all. All we did was move money around from hiring 2 people that would be partially on board to hiring 1 person at a salary commensurate with getting somebody who's very well experienced, and it will not cost us any more in this budget cycle. I hope that helps, folks. I just wanted to give you my end of it as well.
Yes, and I think you answered almost the rest of the questions there. Just to add on, you see a fairly large management fee in your budget that will be restructured. So the current payroll, which management really is based on time. We base our management fees on time. And so that is Dawn's time, salary, and then the rest of our team. So that will be completely readjusted. So the majority of that, a budget line item, can be used towards this payroll. And of course, we'll still continue the support functions and the accounting and financial services for your community. Another question was, who does the GM report to? Who's their supervisor? Technically, their supervisor will be myself and the NOVA team. They will be a NOVA employee. However, they report directly to the board of directors for day-to-day purposes. So they're going to take their day-to-day direction from the board. They're going to get their support, their training, their systems, and all of that from NOVA. And of course, I'll work, with them to make sure that they have that support. And then I think there was some questions on salary versus benefits and load. There's always somewhere between 20 and 30% on top of a salary for benefits and any additional benefits, taxes, all of those types of things. So the exact number on that is not determined yet because the salary is not determined yet, but you can, in your mind, it's somewhere between 20 and 30% to consider. And that's with any payroll that you may have.
And I just wanted to tack on about the can we slow down about the hiring of a manager. To me personally, and I think for the community, it's important that we get the GM on or the new hire on with some time before the villages are delivered. Get that person here before they are swamped with this new amenity, give them a chance to understand the community as it exists now, and to get here with a couple of months to ramp up for the delivery of the villages and how that will be managed. And I'd add that, the board is really looking to set up this community for success. And having a full-time manager with the commensurate years of experience and certification is important for our success. And that does cost money in a salary. I think we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and there's a couple of questions in the chat based specifically on that. If you don't mind, we can maybe touch on them. One is this, which is a good one. This was discussed with the board as well. Is the GM salary based on the current number of houses or the final number? Will it go up substantially when the community is fully developed? One of the very important things that we've been communicating through this process and will communicate to any candidate is this salary is based on full build out. And so there will not be a big jump as the community grows. We're bringing them in as someone who can handle the community at full build out. There will, of course, hopefully everyone will be very happy with this person, and there will be raises, of course, just like in any profession, but it will just be the typical year over year performance and cost of living based increases. It will not be a big jump in terms of build out. So that was a really important consideration, and that was taken into account with that salary range. Another question is, will they have an office and where will it be?
So I'll answer that. So it will likely be in the banquet room, building, I mean. There is a small office set up in that floor plan. I don't know specific details because it's kind of gone through a couple of iterations of they've moved things around and move a bathroom here and there as they go through the construction and planning process. But there will be as Takara as well will most likely find her home mostly at the villages, at those amenities, but there's an office space and some desk areas that will be for them, I mean, for Takara and for the GM.
Great. All right, I think that covers the questions that have come in. Again, we'll still hold a homeowner forum at the end here. So if you think of anything else, you can put it in the chat and we will touch base on it. Otherwise,
Next is the Budget Advisory Council. So we've rebranded a little bit on the name, which I think is great. So I think, Christina, you're going to let William share his screen. Is that the plan?
yes. Let's see.
Yeah, if you could allow me to share, that'd be great.
Let me find you on my list here. Aha.
I'm probably on the naughty list.
All right, you should be able to now.
All right. All right, give me 1 second here, everyone. The Budget Advisory Council, as we are now gladly called. We hated holding the bag. So there's 3 of us. Mary Alice is our what inspector we look? All right, I got a crash report on with you. Mary Alice is our chairperson, and she does a good job of keeping us organized and on task. And as part of her role, she gets to delegate. So you get to hear from me today. And John is also going to talk to you a little bit about at the end. One of the things we wanted to do, kind of expand this year, is during these monthly board meetings to kind of give you a little update of what we're up to, but we wanted to give you a little context. You know, Christina did a great job of going through the treasurer's report and reading through all the numbers, but you know, for me, I'm like, what does that all mean? So we've done a little analysis and put together a little bit to kind of add a little context to that, if you will. So I'm going to go through this quickly. So last year, you know, we defined some terminology. We wanted to make sure everyone was clear on the terms we were using. And so, you know, I'm not going to read these are on the screen. I'll just let you read them. This one. I'm going to comment on one that we're going to change slightly. Last year, we referred to that monthly HOA amount that we all have to pay as fees, right? You know, people call them dues, they call them fees. Well, by Washington state law, the technical term is assessments, okay? So what we pay each month is an assessment. So the idea here is those assessments, we're pulling that money from 2 sources, our cash and those assessments. That's where that comes from. Christina, this is perfect today. Thank you, Christina. She showed there's those other things that come in. Now, the majority of our assets are cash, but there's other things, little accounts payable, accounts receivable. You know, at the end of the month, you're reconciling your checkbook. You know, okay, it says I have this much. Well, you know, you got a pile of bills sitting there that you got to pay in the next 10 days. Those are accounts payable. So it doesn't always mean that's what you've got. So we're going to start using net assets as the term that gives us it's an easy number. You can take 2 numbers off of financial, assets minus liabilities, and you come up with net assets. That's really easy to see, and it kind of gives us a reflection of where the community is at. So let's look at that historically. For the first several years of the community, those net assets grew and grew and grew. The end of 2021, we had $938,000 in net assets. 2022, the trend reversed. Every month in 2022, that number dropped. It went down. Now, we feel very proud about this. Last fall, we predicted that the year-end balance would be closer to 500,000 than $1 million. Well, 656 is closer to 5 than $1 million, okay? With the fee increase, assessment increase, I saw you, Jennifer. With the assessment increase, and from Pete's report, the new capital contributions, we've actually reversed the trend. We're climbing back up again. That's good. That's a positive thing. Next, some of those capital contributions. I'm so glad that we have the Taylor Morrison report before me, because all of last year, in the entire year of 2022, we only had 10 new homes. We only got 48,000 capital contributions. We matched that. We've exceeded that in the first quarter. So that 72,000 is helping us greatly to replenish that cash. And that's why our net assets are doing well. Now, we made a statement last year to all of you. We said the only way we were going to work through this build out period where we have amenities coming on, but we're still building houses, was for Taylor Morrison to build more homes. Thank goodness that's what's happening. They're doing it. So that is going to help us out tremendously. Last thing, we want to give everyone, now this is for our sake. This is for how well did we do projecting a budget? And we thought about how to do this. And we said, okay, we're a growing community. So looking at a single year and saying, okay, this year is going to be like last year, that's limiting. We did we looked at 3 years, 2020, 21, and 22. And we said, all right, each month, by the time we got to, the end of March, the first quarter, what percentage of the total budget for that year was spent by that point? And if you took that 3 years and averaged it, and they bounced around a little bit, but they averaged 18%. Now, if you think about it, a quarter of the year shouldn't it be like 25%? Well, we also see some things. Our expenses don't go evenly throughout the year. Now we also, and actually I'll go point to that, the very bottom little note there. Historically, we spend 35% of our expenses happen in the third quarter. Well, if you think about it, that makes sense. Landscaping and water are two of our biggest expenses, and they're highest in that quarter. So that's why we're not at a full 25% now. Now, we also looked at it, we said, okay, we've got a total budget. So where are we, the total budget? We're at 14% of that. But we also said, you know what, we projected about $105,000 costs for the villages. Well, they're not going to come on until, later in the year. So they would have no impact on the first quarter. So we remove that. If you take that, that means that we're at 16% through the first quarter year to date. 16%, 18%, in my mind, that's reasonable. So we are on track. Our budget is within reason. Our expenses are within reason. And we hope each quarter at the meeting to kind of just give you a quick snapshot look at this, so you can just get a high level look, a little context of how things are going. John is now going to talk to you a little bit for a minute. He's going to give you his comments and his pitch for joining the Budget Advisory Council. John?
Am I live?
I hear you.
Okay, we're good.
You're good.
Okay, well, what we're looking for is we need more help on the advisory council. We're currently 3 members and we're looking at adding 2 more for a total of 5. And what we're looking for is homeowners that want to really help support and improve our community. We're looking for people that have a background in accounting, finance, budget, business. But we're also looking for people that really are concerned about the community and want to make it an excellent one to live in. It's a 2-year commitment, and you'll be getting an e-blast here soon to give you a lot more information about if you want to apply. There will be a screening process through that, but initially we're looking for members of the community to be part of the Budget Advisory Council. It's been just my experience. I've been on it for a year. I've had a really good experience working with William and Mary Alice, and you'll have the same experience that I've had so far. So we really look for people to step up and keep looking at the budget and overviewing. And if you got the financial background, great. But if you really just want to be part of the organization that helps look at that, we'd be happy. Thank you.
That's everything. That's everything we've got.
Great. Thank you.
Any
You guys,
questions up in you'd like me to address, Christina?
Can you repeat that?
I said, did any questions come in that you'd like me to address before I stop sharing?
Yes. There was one question that came in regarding this specifically. What is the amount of money we should have in reserves for a community of this size? Are we close?
Great question. I'll take that one if you like.
Sure.
So they're completely separating from the operating budget. What the numbers we were looking at was the operating budget. That's, if you will, that's what we pay the bills with. That's the money comes in, we pay the bills. There is a complete separate reserve account. It was in Christina's treasury report, and there's actually experts who do analyses on that and give us a report. And at this point, the board made, in my mind, a wise decision, and we are fully funded on that reserve. Now, I'm going to do a little foreshadowing. When the villages are complete, that is a big facility, and that is going to have to impact our future reserves. I'm going to stop right there.
Well, let me just add that the reserve report's available on the portal. It's been available on the portal year after year, and I love it because it's one of the easiest documents I find to read. Some of the things we get in my position are pretty difficult to decipher, but the reserve report's really done well. And so how much do we need to have? Well, right now for this year, by the end of this year, we're supposed to have just close to $300,000 in our reserve account. We already have that. And if you take a look at the reserve report, the amount of money we're supposed to have in the reserves goes up and up and up until it hits a certain year. And there's a big drop off around year 15, and there's a big drop off around year 30, because we're supposed to spend a hell of a lot of it in those years, because that's the year that a roof is supposed to be replaced, or a building is supposed to be painted, or some big project is supposed to be done. And so what we're doing is we're saving up all that money over time. And the reserve report tells us, hey, this is the year you got to expect to pay this. And so it gives us a nice plan. Please take a look at it. It's about a 15-page thing. It tells you how much they expect you to have in it every year and what you're supposed to spend it on. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then one more question came in. Who does the screening of the volunteers?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is volunteers, you mean people who apply for the council?
Yes, budget advisory.
I believe, Jennifer, I'm going to turn that question to you.
I thought it was going to be a collaborative effort.
That is my understanding also. So the current council and the board together we will work hand in hand on that screening process and that selection process. They've asked us for our input.
We want them involved, yes.
Great.
Great.
I think that's it specifically related to that presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. Should we roll into the homeowner forum at this point? I don't have any other updates.
Yes, unless the board has anything else to add. So I have a couple of questions that have already come in through the chat. So I'll read through those first. For anyone else, you can either utilize the chat and I can read them off for you, or you can use, there is a reaction at the bottom of your screen. You can raise your hand, or you can get our attention on your video if you want as well, if you would like to speak. So I'm just scrolling through my chat here. We have one comment that came in regarding the pavilion. and the cleaning. So some concerns on the level of cleaning. They Swiffered the floor after their event. And they're not believing that it is being cleaned at least once a month. The tables, pedestals were filthy, dusted the coffee legs, thick dust, and some cobwebs. So that is good feedback. We will work with the cleaning company and make sure that that is addressed and something that the team is keeping an eye on, because they are there 3 days a week. So that is a comment. And then we went through the GM questions. One owner, these questions were asked at the last meeting, have not seen them answered. Seems like they drop off once asked, no resolution and follow-up. Where exactly is this in the village's location related to buildings? Will this potentially distract from events at the villages, i.e., I think related to the dog park?
Okay, so that is part of those deliverables that we're gonna be getting. So that we will get that information for you here soon.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
Great
detailed questions on specifically what's included. So I'm gonna, I save all of the chat. I'll make sure that the board sees this specifically, and hopefully a lot of that information will be included.
I think it'll be helpful if we make that a resident, like a board request, or like that way it's tracked and managed that way too.
Will do, yes. Okay, from Susan and Joe, not sure if this affects anyone else, but when will Thurston County hire someone to finish road repairs?
So that's not Thurston County. What they keep wait, maybe I misspoke too soon. Are they talking about the public road? And are there repairs needed in the public road? Does it say?
Doesn't specify. Let me see.
Because I just immediately went, unfortunately, sorry, I jumped the gun a little. I went to our bond work that we're having to do that is dictated by the county. And that has been ongoing, and they just sent us another punch list and another walk. When we think we're done, we're not. So that's been a little challenging. And then for full transparency, a concrete vendor that we've been using decided to, kind of with really no forward notice, decided to close up shop. So there was a little bit of delay on concrete, not just weather, but with a vendor. So there is a new vendor in place, and there's new plans moving forward. But I know specifically there's an area around Joe and Sue's house that needs to be addressed as well. So there are some outstanding items that are still on the list. And so I hope that answers that question.
So I would just ask the homeowner that feels that there's some things that didn't get finished up in the repairs, feel free to take a photo of it for us so that we know exactly what you're talking about, and give us the location of it and send it. Well, you can probably be best if you just walk it by the HOA manager on a Thursday, or you can upload it on the portal. But having an image of it and the specific location would really help. Thanks.
Actually, thank you for saying that, Steve, because that actually really helps me communicate things to the land team too as well. I think a lot of times what we think is familiar in the community is not always familiar to them. So sometimes things get a little lost in translation. So if you're like, buy this home or right by my home or whatever it is, that's actually super helpful for me. And it makes things go a little quicker. So thank you for that suggestion.
Yes, and then I think this is a comment for the Pavilion Committee and the board to think about, particularly with the new amenity coming on. They say, this is Susan and Joe again, is there a way to have the 30-minute limit on the aerobic equipment lifted? Public gyms don't have this limit. Why do we? So probably no answer at this point, but something to consider.
Well, that's great feedback as we're actually reviewing documents and in the process of crafting the amenity handbook, which would be rules and regulations for not only the amenities themselves, but the dog park and the pool and the fitness areas. So we'll definitely take that into consideration and look into that.
Great. And of course, with the pavilion as it is, with the size limitations and the number of homeowners, of course, to allow the most owners possible to use it. Let's see what else. So we have one from Takara, so I assume it's from the group at the pavilion. Will the capital contribution be increased since the percentage of residents has increased?
So that's actually an amount that's decided by the builder, the seller. And currently, right now, we've had discussions. I have provided feedback that comes up in these meetings, and currently they've taken it into consideration and they've decided to not increase the capital contribution. But there may come a point in time where they decide to change that. So that's not something that the HOA has the ability to change and or control, but every time it does come up, I do provide feedback to Pete and the team about that. So if it does change, we'll let you know.
Right, then one comment from Charlotte Green, is anyone looking at the plants placed by TM? There are many plants placed inappropriately that will require removal and replacement going forward, which I believe will fall to the homeowners. These are large trees placed 4 to 6 feet from a fence or house. Maybe this information is out there and I've just missed it, but it concerns me when I walk around.
That comes up often. So we actually did a walk with the landscape committee that was very helpful. We had someone on the TM team who's also an landscape architect, and he's well versed and has many years in land development. And so we did walk and look at landscaping and kind of talk about moving forward in other divisions and, you know, changing plantings, changing styles, changing manners. I think the trees probably a little bit of a separate conversation. I know that some areas, this has come up with trees planted in street strips versus trees planted in front of homes. It's something that we're actively discussing with the landscape committee and with TM as well, with our landscape architects, to see if we can, help things move forward, be a little bit more efficient and more cost effective. I think the tree conversation kind of gets into more specific situations where it actually presents itself. I don't think that's necessarily a systemic issue or concern. So has come up before.
Right. Then there's an additional comment from Takara from the group at the pavilion. Just, I think, along the same lines as their initial comment. Secondly, since the size of the HOA has increased, has the capital contribution increased to show that, for example, it was 200, now 232, therefore the in their thinking should be 5,568, the capital contribution. So I think kind of responded to that, but something to add on.
So there might be am I misunderstanding this question? Because capital contribution is a one-time cost at closing, which is the $4,800 versus 200 to 232 is the actual monthly assessment. So
Jennifer, I believe I think it was coincidence back then. You guys started at 200. The capital contribution was 4,800. That is exactly 24 times monthly, and so I believe the math there is probably 24 months times the new fee.
That's probably what.
And that has come up. So thank you. I was kind of trying to figure out. Thank you.
From the perspective of the Budget Advisory Council, we debated this back and forth multiple times, and John and Mary Alice, I hope I can make this statement for us. We kind of looked at that capital contribution, and we thought about whether we should make a recommendation it should increase. But when we looked at it, what we really came down to is, you know what we really need? We need to sell more homes. Selling more homes gets us financially stronger. Raising another $1,200 or a couple $100 on a capital contribution, that's not going to really do much for us in the long run. Getting more homes sold that start paying monthly assessments, that's going to keep us financially stronger. So we ultimately decided not to make a recommendation to the board to look at and consider, increasing that, at least at this time, for that reason.
Great.
Good point.
Yeah. I think I saw Takara typing.
One more comment from Takara, and again, we'll wrap up here soon. Back by where the construction team gets the dirt is filled with Scotch broom. Will this be taken care of? If so, when?
It depends on how far back it is. So I know that they're not clearing areas that are way far back, but anything that is remotely adjacent to current construction and current homes, they have a plan to remove that. I don't know the exact date because I know they were still working through that with the landscape installer. I will double check and we can provide an update, probably via e-blast on that. But I know if it's way far back, they probably won't be as aggressively removing it. But I have given them definitely a lot of feedback and direct instruction. Anything near homes has to be removed. So I will check in with my team and we'll get an e-blast out soon.
Great. All right, that looks like all the questions that have come through the chat. And again, like I said, I will download it and get anything that hasn't been specifically responded to input into a resident request so the board can review and collaborate. And just as a reminder, we are getting those kinds of questions over to the board all of the time. So if any questions come up, do not hesitate to submit them. Submit them through a resident request or go see Dawn on Thursday and she can help you with that. And that way the board can review and we can collaborate with them to get you responses real time so you don't have to wait for the meeting. We really appreciate all the participation and the questions today though.
For sure. Anything else? I can't see the chat thing since I'm on a weird computer hybrid thing right now. I can't see
Yeah,
half of the stuff.
Nothing coming in right now. So if anyone has a last question, make sure we know.
I just want to say that I appreciate the questions coming in a few days or a week in advance. So it gives me time to know what the hell I'm talking about and I can give you guys a good answer. So for future board meetings, keep sending those questions in advance. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
I'm gonna second that. Yeah, it's very helpful. And like Christina said, we would really like to encourage, if you come up with a question and want to know, please ask. We prefer that. It actually helps us set up our meetings and provide more information. And if you're thinking it, someone else is likely thinking it. So we don't want people to feel like they have to wait for board meetings, and we don't want people to feel like they, have to get in big groups and then communicate things. If that works, that's great, but we don't want people to feel like they have to do that to get our attention. We really like when it goes through the portal because it sends us messages and alerts and we can track it and then we can make sure everyone gets their questions responded to and answered. So that helps us help you. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's one of our longest meetings, but it was good. It was packed with a lot of information. So I will go ahead and formally adjourn at 5:18. Looks like our next one is July 19th.
Great. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
This summer.
Oh, it's like flashing. Bam, bam.